Welcome to The Explainer. Today, I'm basically going to be your personal, highly curated travel concierge. We're unpacking an island that is literally bursting at the seams with wonders. If you've been looking for a destination that somehow manages to pack the diversity of an entire continent into a remarkably small, easily navigable footprint, well, you are in the exact right place.
And hey, I'm not the only one making bold claims about this place. Even the legendary explorer Marco Polo famously declared Sri Lanka the most beautiful island in the world. I mean, think about that for a second. This is a true crossroads of East and West, a place where for centuries tides carried secrets, spices, and stories. We're talking ancient cities, emerald tea plantations, and some seriously exotic wildlife.
So where do we even begin? Well, we're going to build your perfect first-time itinerary by walking through 5 key pillars: ancient fortresses, the Central Highlands, wild jungles, coastal wonders, and finally, modern Colombo.
Starting right off with number 1, ancient cities and fortresses. We're talking 2,500 years of royal heritage.
This is where we really dive into the island's roots. It all kicks off with Indo-Aryan settlers and the arrival of Buddhism in the 4th century BCE, which totally transformed the island into a spiritual heartland. Now, what's super fascinating about Sri Lanka's history is that it's a story of constant movement. The royal capital didn't just stay put. It started in Anuradhapura, which thrived for 1,000 years as one of the greatest Buddhist centers in Asia. But because of repeated invasions, these magnificent Sinhalese kingdoms were forced to adapt, fortify, and relocate. So they moved to Polonnaruwa in the 11th century, then up to the steep, defensible stronghold of Yapavua in the 13th century, and eventually found a lasting home in Kandy by the 16th century.
Now, to really grasp the massive scale of that very first capital, Anuradhapura, you just have to look at one staggering number: 93 million. That is the exact number of bricks used to construct the Jethawana Stupa back in the 3rd century CE. It stood 122 meters tall. Guys, this was an absolute engineering marvel that literally rivaled the Egyptian pyramids in sheer scale. And get this, when British explorers finally stumbled upon these ruins in the 19th century, they were completely hidden beneath dense jungle vegetation, like a real-life explorer's dream.
Speaking of engineering marvels rising out of the jungle, let's talk about a place you absolutely must put on your itinerary: Sigiriya, the city in the sky. This place tells a wild story from the late 5th century. King Kashyapa built this colossal rock fortress 200 meters up in the sky. Why? Basically out of sheer paranoia. He was terrified of an attack from his half-brother, the rightful heir. So he built this impenetrable royal citadel, complete with incredibly advanced hydraulic water gardens, and decorated the rock face with these gorgeous, vibrant frescoes of 21 heavenly maidens that you can still see today. Ultimately, though, his brother did return. Kashyapa's war elephants got confused during the battle, they retreated, his army panicked, and rather than be captured, Kashyapa actually took his own life. Tragic, right? But the ruins left behind are just breathtaking. Oh, and a quick pro tip for your trip: hike the nearby Pidrangala Rock at sunrise. It gives you the absolute best, untouched view of Sigiriya itself.
Now, as we follow these shifting kingdoms, we have to talk about why they moved so much. A lot of the time, they were protecting this, the sacred tooth relic. Currently safely housed in that final royal capital of Kandy, this isn't just any religious artifact. Said to be a literal tooth of the Buddha, it became the ultimate symbol of kingship in Sri Lanka. Whoever possessed this tooth held the divine right to rule. It was so incredibly powerful that it was stolen, reclaimed, and fiercely protected across centuries. If you happen to visit Kandy during the Esala Perahera festival, you'll actually see this history come alive. It's a massive celebration with dancers, fire breathers, and elephants all honoring this exact relic.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the scenic Central Highlands. Think tea, trains, and cloud forests. So it's time to leave the hot plains behind and head upwards into the cool, misty, intensely green heart of the island. Just a short 45-minute drive from Kandy, you hit an elevation of 1,100 meters at the Ambaluwawa Tower. And this place, it brilliantly captures Sri Lanka's unique cultural landscape. It's this massive, spiraling tower perched right on a mountain peak, and it actually serves as Sri Lanka's very first multi-religious sanctuary. You'll find symbols of Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam all standing peacefully together. Climbing its narrow staircase is a bit of a thrill. It honestly makes you feel like you're floating straight above the rolling tea plantations below.
But listen, the absolute best way to see these highlands is by taking one of the most scenic train journeys in the entire world. Originally built by the British way back in 1864 to transport tea, this Kandy to Yala route is just packed with highlights.
First, you'll pass through Nuwara Eliya, which is famous for its crisp climate and British-style architecture. Then, the train pulls off a literal engineering magic trick at the Demodara Loop. It actually curves completely around a hill to pass underneath its own station. Finally, you pull into the laid-back town of Yala, home to the iconic Nine Arches Bridge. And, get this, that massive bridge is a masterpiece built entirely out of brick, stone, and cement. There is not a single piece of steel in it.
Which brings us to Section 3, Wild Jungles and Wildlife. Get ready for a safari in paradise.
Let's guide you out of those mountains and straight into the dense nature reserves. A lot of people don't realize this, but Sri Lanka is actually one of the greenest countries on the planet, making it an absolutely premier destination for a safari. With 26 national parks, it can be tough to know where to start. So here's your direct, actionable cheat sheet. Looking for predators? Go to Yala National Park. It boasts one of the highest densities of leopards on Earth, plus sloth bears and crocodiles. More of a birdwatcher, Kumana is your haven for flamingos and rare sea eagles. And if you want to see something truly awe-inspiring, head over to Minaria during the dry season. Hundreds of wild Asian elephants emerge from the forest to gather around an ancient reservoir. It's a massive event, literally just known as The Gathering.
And speaking of elephants, the island has this incredibly profound connection to these gentle giants. If you want to see some serious conservation in action, you've got to check out the Pinawala Elephant Orphanage. Established in 1975, it was actually the world's very first sanctuary of its kind. They rescue and rehabilitate elephants that have been orphaned by habitat loss or injured by poachers. It gives them a second chance to form family bonds and bathe safely in the river. It's just a really beautiful testament to the country's deep reverence for its wildlife.
All right, Section 4, Coastal Wonders and History. We are heading to the edge of the Indian Ocean.
As we reach the edges of the island, we crash right into deep-rooted myths, intense colonial history, and incredibly vibrant marine life. Because of its prime strategic location, European powers, specifically the Portuguese, Dutch, and British, fought bitterly over Sri Lanka's highly lucrative spice trade, and they left behind some seriously impressive coastal strongholds. Up in the north, you have Jaffna Fort. With its massive stone ramparts, it has witnessed centuries of political struggles, and it played a significant role in Sri Lanka's civil war history from 1983 to 2009. Compare that to Galle Fort down in the south. Galle has endured monsoons and even the devastating 2004 tsunami. Walking its cobblestone streets today, right past that iconic lighthouse, it honestly feels like stepping into a bustling European spice hub that's been completely frozen in time.
And, man, let's not forget what is just off those shores. Down by the southern coast of Marissa, you can literally spot the largest animals to ever exist on Earth, 180-ton blue whales, swimming just 20 kilometers offshore. How wild is that? Beneath the waves, divers can explore sunken World War II ships that have completely transformed into these thriving, vibrant coral reefs. And right at the water's edge, you might catch a glimpse of the stilt fishermen. This is a centuries-old tradition you won't find anywhere else in the world. These fishermen perform this crazy, delicate balancing act on wooden poles high above the surf just to catch small reef fish without disturbing the seabed below.
And finally, Section 5, Modern Colombo, the Gateway of Progress. We're bringing our itinerary to a close right in the island's bustling de facto capital. It's a city that beautifully balances its rich heritage with some serious modern resilience. You see, Colombo was never just a fortress. It was always this dynamic city of movement, a true gateway to the world. You can literally smell the history in Peta Market, where the air is thick with the scent of spices and tropical fruit, just like it was centuries ago. You can see the incredible blend of cultures at the Gangara Maya Temple, which perfectly mixes Thai, Chinese, and Sri Lankan architectural styles. But the most striking addition to the skyline today, the Lotus Tower. Standing a massive 350 meters tall, it's modeled after a lotus flower. Now, Sri Lanka faced a really severe economic crisis in 2022, and times were tough. But much like a lotus rising from the mud, the country is recovering. That glowing tower is now a huge beacon of national pride and economic revival for all of South Asia.
So, the crucial point here is this. We've just journeyed through ancient sky fortresses, misty tea-covered highlands, parks teeming with wild leopards, and oceans populated by massive blue whales. We've laid out what is, without a doubt, the ultimate first-timer's bucket list. The only question left is, with 2,500 years of history and endless scenic landscapes calling your name, which part of Sri Lanka are you going to explore first? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.